You came from a big family, if I remembered right. And I remember we were talking about heroes. So on the personal side, you always were mentioning your sister, Pat. Tell us more about your family and about Pat and the influences she had on your life.
I'm the youngest of five in a big Irish family. And I was born very late in my parents' life. So my older sisters are 26 and I don't know, 18 years older than I am. And in an upstate New York, our world was like this big, this big.
Yeah.
And, you know, going to Syracuse, which was 35 miles away, was like going to a big city. So we just didn't have the opportunities to see the world, coming from that kind of humble background. But my sister Pat, who's my second sister, I have two sisters, two brothers. Um, when she graduated from college, she decided to go to the Peace Corps. And she joined the Peace Corps and she was placed in Turkey. And she taught English to Turkish kids and Turkish students. And then after 2 years, she returned to Rochester, New York, and she was hired in the city school district because 80 Turkish families were brought over from Turkey to work in Bond. Bond was the hat and the clothing company. It was headquartered in Rochester.
Yeah.
And they needed a teacher who could teach them. And so she did. And she set up the first English as a second language, ESL programs, in the school district in Rochester. And then at 31, she announces that she's going to Texas and she'd come home with a big surprise. And she went to Texas, single, 31 years old, comes back with this 8-year-old Mexican-American kid and adopted her. 6 months later, she adopted her brother. A year later, she went back and adopted two other kids that were not biologically connected. And at 32 or 33, she had 4 adopted kids as a single parent in Rochester, New York, and as a teacher. And I'll never forget, she just had this intensity around helping these kids. Most of them had some learning challenges. And she just had this intensity that she was going to be their teacher as well as their parent. And just remarkable, just remarkable. At 40 years old, she comes to a family picnic with some guy from Xerox who had never been married. She had never been married. They get married. She has 2 biological kids. And the kids have all done very, very well. But, I really credit her with just, showing us, she and my older sister who went to college when nobody in our family ever went to college, my sister Jane, the two of them really did lay the path of what was possible, what was possible. Neither of my parents, finished high school. They were depression kids. They wound up getting their GEDs later. But 5 out of the 5 of us have degrees and have seen the world and had bigger experiences. And I think of these 2 women, my oldest sister going to college when everybody said that was a waste of money, and she became a teacher. And my second sister goes to college and then she's in the Peace Corps and she adopts these kids. And, they really did, for me, create a picture of a bigger world, or at least the possibility of a bigger world. And the irony of ironies is that now, I have like 35 nieces and nephews. And, one of my important roles with them is to make sure that their world is bigger. For me, if I wanted to work in entertainment, the idea of going to New York for an internship or can't even imagine Los Angeles was almost like beyond possible. But with my nieces and nephews, the pay it forward piece is basically saying it's all possible. And, if you just need the direction, the funding, the coaching to make it happen, your world can be bigger. And I think that one of the things that we're all proud of, the siblings and I, are that, that next generation, they have had jobs all over the place. They've traveled the world. And a lot of that is just taking what my sister did, especially my sister Pat, and just making it possible and just showing all possible.
Wow.
And that's something in terms of my personal values that's very important to me, that, to the extent that you can make that world bigger for other people and that they can take more risks and have the rewards, what a better gift to provide.